Seller, and it's Monday morning, so I'm coming at it with all the goods I sold in the past 48 hours on eBay. It was a pretty good weekend for me. Happy about my sales. In total, I sold 21 items, and those items totaled up to $1,190.87. So super glad for the sales I had this weekend, especially because last weekend was definitely a little bit slow. So I got a lot to share with you this morning. I got a variety of different types of boots. I got some denim, I got some jackets, and I got a couple old vintage pieces I'll also share with you. So let's go ahead and get going with it. First item up to bat that I sold was a men's special blend snowboarding jacket. Now I live very close to southern Colorado, and there are two ski resorts very near where I live up in Colorado. So I come across a lot of snowboarding gear, lots of ski, outerwear, you name it. And I come across a lot of Gorp because of my relative location to Colorado. So you'll see that a lot of these items I'm selling are kind of mountain inspired. They're mountain goat gear, but nonetheless, this piece here sold on an offer for $37. This special blend jacket I sourced at a garage sale just this past summer. I did pay $8 for it. I don't mind paying up sometimes on snowboarding gear if it's the right brand, and Special Blend's not a bad brand. However, this jacket did have some scuffs, some scratches, and some stains, and I keep saying it, that's not uncommon with used outerwear, especially snowboarding gear, ski wear. People go tumbling down the mountain, people crash into trees, and this stuff just kind of gets beat up, but that's okay because there's a market out there for somebody who wants to buy it. They don't want to pay $200 to $300 for a low-end jacket when they can buy a premium brand that maybe's a little bit used or very used and beat up. So with this bad boy here, I also charged $11.50 shipping on it. And I like to upcharge a little bit on my shipping weight with big heavy jackets because a lot of the jackets I ship go on the other side of the Mississippi from me. And that means an upcharge with the United States Postal Service. So getting familiar with the different sizes and weights of items will just help you tremendously when you get into reselling. And then you'll be able to be more competitive with your shipping prices. I do some free shipping on like shoes and smaller items, but when it comes to the heavy stuff, the bigger, bulkier items or heavier garments like jackets, I just make sure and cover my shipping because I don't want to eat too much of that cost if I can prevent it. And so with this jacket, in the title, obviously, I put snowboarding jacket, but in the description box, I went ahead and put powder, I put ski vacation, I put head wall, jump, butters, and I use some other terminologies that are probably more familiar to somebody who snowboards, but you get the idea. I'm just trying to target a certain audience that's looking for this type of item. And again, because it had a lot of scuffs and scratches, I just denoted that it had flaws, it had stains, and I was good about pointing out where the problems were. So happy to see this jacket go. I think I listed it initially in the low 40s, so I didn't give that much of a deal on it. And it did have a lot of people looking at it, a lot of energy, but I'm glad to see it move because jackets do not sell very well in the summertime. So here's my business partner. Everybody who watches my channel knows that as well as sourcing a lot of winter apparel and a lot of Gorp, I also source a lot of work utility. And while this Carhartt jacket is not a work utility jacket, it's really easy to find Carhartt in the area I live. I always suggest that in my videos to anybody out there. If you live in Texas, you're probably going to be able to find a lot of cowboy boots and Western wear. You might even be able to find a lot of work utility because there's a lot of oil field. But if you live like in Southern California, you're probably going to be finding a lot different stuff. So just hone yourself in to the items that are good, that sell well, and are very common in your area. And for me, Carhartt is one of them. So this is a Carhartt Boulder parka, and this is a woman's piece. It's got that nice Sherpa lining. This jacket wasn't in terrible condition, but it wasn't in excellent shape. So I think I just listed it as good, not excellent. It did sell for $55 on an offer, and I charged $12 shipping because it's pretty heavy. And this jacket I only gave $10 for at a garage sale. So seldom do I sell a lot of Carhartt women's jackets, but occasionally I'll sell a Carhartt women's hoodie or something like that, a light zip up fleece jacket. But mainly what I'm looking for when it comes to Carhartt is a lot of their duck canvas pieces. I love any of their old vintage jackets. I love their double knee pants. And if you can find double knee shorts, I've only found one pair ever. They're worth a ton of money. I know that sounds strange, but there is such a thing as Carhartt double knee shorts. Look it up. They're rare, but they're worth a ton of money. But I love Carhartt. It's just one of those brands that's common. So I source it and I sell it, and it's just a no brainer for me. So with this jacket, I just put things in the title like heavy. I definitely put Sherpa lined. I put winter. I put snow, warm, dry, outside, outdoors. I didn't go too descriptive into any type of one type of jacket or genre of jacket, I guess you could say, because this one was kind of just a basic women's jacket. But I do believe I also put maybe work, travel, vacation. And so all those things helped me to get a sale. And I think I've only been holding that jacket for 5 or 6 months now. So glad to see it go. Now, the next item up is not Carhartt, but aside from sourcing a lot of work utility in the Carhartt line, I source a lot of it in Ariat, but a lot of lesser tiered brands like Walls, Burn, and this is actually Brahma. Brahma is a very low tier brand, but what I did with this item is I accentuated what it was made out of, and then I pulled out some of the features that it might help sell it because it is work utility. And so this item is duck canvas and it has a quilt lined interior. I made sure and put that in the title. And so sometimes with a weaker tiered brand, I try to accentuate just the features. And a lot of times we resellers like to sell based on the brand. Obviously, that helps. Good brands sell faster. But sometimes you can take a lesser brand, a lower tiered brand that may not have as much desire, but maybe it's made out of the same things, or maybe it's got a cool print, or maybe it's a lesser brand, but it's made out of wool, or maybe it's got goose down feathers in it. Sometimes you can accentuate the materials, the design, and that will help you to get a sale. So I simply did that. I put all those work utility keywords in on this. I put oil filled, construction, I put plumber, heavy equipment operator, and then again, I just featured all the things that the garment had to offer, that it was duck canvas, which is more durable. It's a tougher material. It doesn't rip as easily, and it's very common in a lot of these work utility garments. So this bad boy here sold for $23. I charged $8.95 shipping because it's big and it's pretty heavy, even though it's just a vest. But I only gave $3 for this piece at a church fundraiser sale just this past summer. So I'll turn three into $23 any day. Happy to see this item move. I had some doubts about it because it was a low tier brand, and I think Brahma is sold at Walmart maybe. I know it's not the most popular brand, but this is a vest that is popular, and I sell a ton of these, especially in the kids' sizes. This is a Cowboy Hardware boys vest. I did pay up on this, just sourced this last week at a thrift store in Durango, Colorado. This has a cool embroidery on the bottom, and that's a big reason I like to sell these soft shell vests. They always have cool embroidery, and that's a good selling point for these. I did have this listed at I think 25 and some change or 26 and some change. I got an offer within just a few days of it being listed for $23, and I did charge $7.50 shipping on this item. With this item, obviously, I'm going to put cowboy in the title. I'll put rodeo. I'll also put embroidery or embroidered. And then when you get to the description box, I'll put other things like farm, ranch. I'll put church, dress up, holidays, get together. I'll put bull rider, team roper, horseback riding. And so all those country western terminologies just help to get this guy out of my inventory and get money back in my pocket, which is good because that's a lot to pay for that item, especially being a kid's vest. But that's all good. It's all money, and I will pay up for items that sell well for me. And Cowboy Hardware vests are just one of them. And I love selling vests. I love listing vests. You don't have to stage out the arms. You don't have to worry about stains on the arms. They're just quick and easy to list. So I really love selling all kinds of different vests. Now, this next piece was a piece that I bought in a lot. I came across a lot of different jackets at a garage sale, and I made a deal to buy all of them as part of a lot. Many of these jackets were priced between $8 to $10, but I told the seller that I would buy all the jackets on the rack if they would sell them for about $5. They agreed to that, and a lot of the jackets were actually work utility. There was a couple Columbia jackets, and I believe I've sold almost all of those jackets, but this one. Now, what we have here is an Amiri Mode. I might be saying that wrong. women's formal jacket. What this kind of reminds me of is a jacket that you would probably see somebody wear at a cocktail party or to a cocktail party. It reminds me of something that like Jacqueline Onassis would wear, or somebody that's maybe some dressed up grandma at a funeral, or maybe a wedding or a holiday party. So I looked this jacket up when I listed it several months ago. Didn't have a whole lot of resale value to it. And that's not to say it's not a bad brand. It was in very clean condition. It had somewhat of a weird texture to it. So I went ahead and listed that. I really didn't have much of a basis to sell this by, and I just wanted to move it because jackets have a very limited season to sell. So with this jacket, I think I had put it for like $25. Somebody gave me an offer just this past weekend for $20 plus the shipping. I was good to let it go because I had very little views and watchers, and that might be the style of jacket. It might be because the brand was not a very strong selling brand, but I'm glad to see it go, especially because it was probably the weaker brand I bought or the weaker jacket I bought in that lot. But nonetheless, $5 into $20, and somebody will be happy with it. As for words in the title, I think I put cocktail party or dress up jacket, and didn't put a whole lot in the description because this is not in my wheelhouse, but nonetheless, I priced it competitively. The shipping on it wasn't extremely bad. Glad to see it go. We'll move on to the next one. So the next item I have to share with you was actually an item I sold a couple weeks back. This is a Filson Cruiser vest. This bad boy I paid up for, and I believe I caught this on some footage in a video several weeks ago. Paid $85 for this. Filson just sells for me. It is definitely one of those brands. It's my top three brands I would pay way up for. This though, however, despite putting measures and despite selling it for $280 on a small offer several weeks ago, it just didn't fit. And I do find that some Carhartt and Filson pieces, especially with jackets, just seem to fit very big. So this bad boy is an XL, but the measures on it and the size on it almost seems like it's a 2XL. I even put this on after I bought it, hoping I could pull it off. And I'm really a medium to large. I'm only 180 pounds. So there was no way I could really fit into a very large, extra large. And this bad boy here was returned very quickly. I'm grateful for that. I'm sure the person wanted their $280 back, but as soon as it was returned, I mean, it came back lightning fast, so I'm grateful for it. I relisted it, and this bad boy actually sold for $295 within 72 hours of being relisted. So it literally sold for $15 more than what it originally sold for 2 weeks earlier. I'm simply sharing it with you because Filson is rare, and if you can find vintage Filson, it'll sell even better. Filson is not made in America like it once was. I still love it and I still think that it's worth the buy-in. But items to look for are their Mackinac wool jackets and vests. Again, anything vintage. If you can find their tin cloth wax jackets or hats, those can sell for some money. And I've literally sold wool Filson long sleeve button up shirts with moth holes in them for good money. So glad to see this guy go. Again, it sold for $295. I charged $11.95 shipping, but I did pay $85 on it. As for keywords in it, I'll definitely put outdoors, outside. I'll put lumberjack. I'll put cabin core, and Filson is just top tier. I love it. I never find anything Filson that fits me, but if you know CC Filson, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna get this one shipped out quickly, and somebody will be happy, especially if they bought it for a gift. Next item up to bat, Lucky Brand 181 vintage straight leg jeans, just a bread and butter in my store. So lots of Lucky Brand jeans. Nothing special about these. These were actually given to me by a good friend, so I paid nothing for them. And I always say if you're getting started, go digging through your closet, ask friends and family if there's anything they can lend to your endeavor, to your hustle. You'd be surprised what people will give you, especially if you chip at them and you keep working at them. But in your own closet, I guarantee there's probably some old shoes, some old denim pants, and probably some old jackets you don't wear. And I think that's a great starting point for anybody who's just getting going with reselling. But regardless, happy to see these go. These sold for $22. I charged $9 shipping. They weren't in the best of condition. I do find that the darker wash Lucky jeans or Lucky jeans, just about any denim jean in general that is dark wash, sells better for me. And a very simple tip, whether it be denim pants or chinos or khakis or dress pants, You will always do better by selling pants with a longer inseam and a smaller waist. When you start getting wide waisted jeans or pants and short inseams, they're going to be a little bit harder to sell. There's just a lot of tall drink of waters out there that want those pants. And I always say I like to cater to the big and tall crowd because it's harder for the big and tall and big men to find clothing. So, moving on to the next piece. Now, this next piece was another item that I sourced over the summer. Ariat square toe boots. I forget the actual series on these. I didn't write it down on my little spreadsheet below, but these bad boys here, these sold for $72 plus $11.50 shipping. Now, this is one I probably could have priced $5 to $10 higher. Prices for Ariat boots were all across the board. They were selling for anywhere from $50 to $120, but most of the square toe boots I could find that were similar to these were selling for I think $65 to $80. So I priced these competitively at 72. They sold immediately. I was good with that. I'll always wonder sometimes when something sells fast, especially when it's a great brand like Ariat, if I shouldn't have priced it $5 to $10 more. But the caveat with that is you could certainly wait sometimes several weeks to several more months to just make that extra $5 to $10. So the key to it is to actually look up the style code and to look up the actual name of the series of boots, or whether it's clothing. That's another great idea. Anytime you can actually put the name of the garment or the boot series, that's always going to make you more money. And I probably should have done that with these. It was a morning, just a few mornings back, where I was kind of in a hurry and I just didn't feel like doing that. But I do suggest take the time, look up your style codes. You can Google it, it's very easy. And sometimes you can just match by doing a Google Lens shot or even just taking a picture on eBay. So happy to see these go. I did pay $12 at a yard sale for these. And again, I had to give them some real estate. And I felt like these boots were probably a little bit more appropriate to sell in the wintertime. However, you can list cowboy boots any time of year. I have really backed off buying just about any type of cowboy boots, but I love buying Ariat. I'll buy Tecovas, Lucchese, and some Justin boots. I will buy just depending on the brand, but they got to be in great shape. And I've kind of gotten that way with shoes in general. I just don't want to clean them. Now, with these bad boys here, in the title, I put cowgirl. I definitely put rodeo. And then in the description, I went back to all those Western wear keywords. I put farm, barn, chore. I put barrel racing. I put horseback riding, pole bending, goat tying. And those are some of the past off-season sports that some of these cowgirls, cowboys like to do. And I just know that that helps get more views, more clicks. And so I love Ariat boots. Glad to see these go. Probably could have priced them up a little bit higher, but that's all right. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Now, next item I have up to bat here is a Pendleton sweater. And this sweater wasn't listed, but for a few weeks, it is wool. It's of the washable wool variety. Beautiful color. It was in beautiful shape. It wasn't the best, or wasn't a bad size. It was extra large. And I personally like sizes that are sizes that are bigger. Small sizes in men's garments just don't sell very well for me. And I've really gotten away from buying a lot of medium garments. However, if it's a powerful brand, I'll still invest in it. But with Pendleton just sells for me. What everybody loves is the quality of the wool. When it comes to Pendleton, I'll put Made in USA, I'll put Pendleton, Oregon, I'll put Woolen Mills, moisture wicking, and depending on the piece, like this piece here is more of a just kind of a casual piece. I might put vacation, work, business, warm, and that's again just to help move the item a little bit quicker. This Pendleton sweater sold for $38. I charged $8.95 shipping. It's a little bit heavy because it's made of wool. And I did pay up on this item $7.99 at a thrift store. I believe I bought this in Colorado. Glad to see it go. I love Pendleton. I have tons of Pendleton in my house. I have a Pendleton blanket right behind me sitting on my couch. I have a Pendleton bedding set. And I have several pieces of Pendleton clothing that I just wear for special occasions. It's durable, it's warm, it's heavy, and I love the Aztec Southwest print, which leads me to another Pendleton piece. And this is a Pendleton handbag. This just has that serape stripe. Now, this Pendleton piece did have some wear to it, and because it's a handbag, I had to sit on it a little while longer than I would have liked to, but a lot of that was probably the condition. I did initially have this priced at around $35 because it had some wear. It looked like it may have had some moths chewing on it, or just some wear from usage. Hard to say, but it's still Pendleton, and the quality of Pendleton is second to none. I did pay $7 at a yard sale for this, and I've had it listed for about 4.5, 5 months. And it sold for $29 on an offer, and I charged $8 shipping on it. This piece didn't have as cool of a design, but if it does have the stripes, you want to list that as Serape. And then if it has the Aztec design, often I'll put Aztec, Southwest, Choctaw. I'll put Tribal, Navajo. You could just keep going with it, but I think Aztec, Southwest, and Southwestern are your best bets for keywords or good words to put in the title with any Pendleton piece. And so now that we're moving past that, here's a piece I've been holding for a couple years. This is just a coffee mug. I started out selling hard goods and only hard goods, and the very first thing I ever sold on eBay was an M&M brown peanuts coffee mug. And so I'm always humble when I still sell mugs, and I don't buy a whole lot of them unless they're vintage or unless they're big and oversized, and I can buy them for absolutely nothing. But this guy here only gave $1 for. I have had it for several years. It's got a cool Teddy Roosevelt quote on it, and I love Teddy Roosevelt. He was just the man, and he's one of my heroes. So if you know much about history and you know Teddy Roosevelt, he did a lot for our country, and that's probably the reason I picked this up. But this coffee mug sold for $16.90, and again, didn't pay much for it. I did do free shipping on it. I won't make a whole lot of money, and that's a big reason why I've gotten away from coffee mugs, but I'll still buy them occasionally. Again, if the juice is worth the squeeze, and if I can pick them up for just pocket change, then selling them for 15 to 20 bucks is probably worth it for me. So happy to see this one go. Next item up to bat is a cool vintage kitchen piece. Now this is a Mary Mushroom saucepan. I bought this in a set of 3, and this is the very last piece to go. This piece was probably slow to sell because the enamel has some wear on it right there. You can see it. But Sears produced Mary Mushroom, I think in like the 60s, 70s, maybe even the early 80s. And it just has a following of people that love that vintage retro kitchen stuff. And so with this, I'll always make sure to put Mary Mushroom. I'll put in the description I'll put Sears and Roebuck. I'll put Mary Mushroom Collectors Collection. And I don't go to town as crazy on this kind of stuff with the keywords as I probably do clothing. And this item did take almost 6 months to sell, but this piece sold for $25 plus $11 shipping. And I gave $6.49 for this one piece plus lid, as well as the other 2 pieces I gave, I think, around the same price. So I like selling Mary Mushroom. Again, it reminds me of my grandparents, the people that are no longer around, and I know they'd be proud of me. And I know anytime I find cool vintage stuff like that, is probably them looking down, shining on me, trying to help me with my small business. So I know that they're there for me, even though they're not here in the present physical body. Now, here's another vintage piece. This is a cool bowl. This here is a vintage Brook Park confetti bowl. These are old school. This one was in exceptionally good condition. Now, this is like a melamine bowl. Be careful with buying some of these. Make sure you look them up. I know Rachel Ray makes a lot of these. A lot of people make vintage looking kitchen equipment as a throwback or as an homage to how pieces in the kitchen used to look. And it's not only with kitchenwares, it's with pans, pots, it's even with some of the electronic equipment you find out there. But this bowl here, I got at my local thrift store. I paid $2 for this. This bad boy sold for $39 plus $11.50 shipping. And that's one thing I love about reselling. When I can find something like this that's been donated or something that somebody's casting away for literally nothing, and I can turn it into somebody else's treasure, it just feels good. Now with this, I just put confetti bowl in the description. I put vintage. I think I put 70s and 80s. I wasn't familiar with exactly when Brook Park was made. I probably could have done a little bit more research on it, but knowing how to look up the sold and completed, understanding how to assess sell-through rates is imperative, and just being curious and looking up the brand will help you with so much stuff. And so glad to see that bad boy go. Now moving on to the next piece. Got these Burton snowboard boots. I really love selling youth snowboard boots. They're smaller, they don't weigh as much. They sell faster, I find, and I think they sell better and for almost as much money as the adult ones, maybe not quite as much. Now, Burton is top tier. There's other brands I like though. I like 32, Foursquare. There's a lot of great boot brands, but Burton just seems to be top tier. These here have a BOA system, and I listed these and they sold for like $48 plus $10 shipping within 48 hours of being listed to eBay. I only paid $6 for these at a garage sale. These did, however, sit in the closet for several months before it was appropriate to list them. Obviously, you're not going to sell snowboard boots in the wintertime, and I don't sell mini jackets in the wintertime. I will, however, say it is possible to sell summer items in the winter, but those items are not going to sell as frequently. And as somebody mentioned a while back, it is always warm somewhere when it's winter across the United States. Obviously, I'll sell Birkenstocks in the south of Florida in the winter months. I'll sell board shorts to San Diego in the winter months, but those items just don't sell very well in the winter for me. And I can definitely tell you that winter items just about don't sell at all in the summer months. So these items have a very short window to sell, and I always try to get a lot of my heavy, good winter wear or snowboarding and ski wear listed towards the tail end of the summer so that I have that good window of about 5 to 6 months to showcase these items, to get them sold. Glad to see these move for me. Pretty good profit. All right, next item up. This is a weird one. I've sold this jacket 2, 3 times before. I don't know if the market's just kind of saturated with these. This is a cool women's Sherpa flight jacket. Now, I've sold two of these, I know for sure, in the past. Same color, literally close to the same size for in the mid 20s. But I've had this bad boy for over a year. The condition is not bad, but it just wouldn't sell for me. So slowly I chipped the price down, and I think I had it down to like $19 or $20. I think it was $20 and some change. Somebody made me an offer for $17 plus shipping. I said, heck with it. I'm going to let it go. It's an item I've had for over a year. It's not a heavyweight jacket. It's not a super lightweight jacket. So it's kind of one of those weird jackets that fall in the middle. And so I'm going to just be glad to see it go. I've been sitting on this for over a year. I sourced this at a thrift store in Roswell, New Mexico a year back, but I only gave $6 for it. Cool is a great brand. It's a Gorp brand. It's a mountain gear adventure apparel brand. So with it, I definitely put Sherpa. I want to put Born in the Mountains, which is Cool's logo. And with any brand, I love to put their logo in the description box. And then I put both ways to spell Cool. There's several different ways that people on eBay like to spell it. And I simply just like to put both of them in there because it's got kind of a funky U with a little abbreviation. I forget what that's called. But nonetheless, with these outdoor items, I'll put hiking, backpacking, outside camping, dirt bag, which is a kind of a slang word for somebody who likes to climb mountains, and through hiking. And that just helps to sell Gorp. I find a lot of it in southern Colorado. And so early on in my reselling endeavor, I clued in again to the things that are common in my area. In my local community, it's a lot of oil field, it's a lot of Western wear, it's very blue collar. But when I travel up 45 minutes north to southern Colorado, it's almost like a whole other world. I find a lot of very high-end business attire, a lot of dress shirts that are very nice. I find a lot of premium golf apparel and a lot of that Gorp or outdoor adventure apparel. And then again, I find a lot of my outdoor winter jackets up there, the ski, the snowboarding jackets, all of those I find generally in Colorado. But if I do find them down here, it's typically at garage sales. I don't pay as much for them down here, and then I sit on them and then I sell them for a better profit when the season rolls back around. So now moving on, this next piece up here is just a Levi's flannel jacket, but it is Sherpa lined, it's hooded, so I made sure and put all of those things in the title. Not a whole lot to this, but these sell well for me, and I figured that out a couple years back, so I didn't pay a whole lot for this guy. It did sell for $31 plus $9.95 shipping, and I only gave $3 for this piece at a church fundraiser sale. I did, however, have to wash it. It had a few stains, but I was able to get them out. And so I'm glad to turn $3 into $30 plus some shipping. Levi's just sells for me. With Levi's, I often like to put red tab if it's a trucker style jacket or if it's a denim trucker jacket. I always put trucker. With this here, I put streetwear, grunge, I put skateboarding, I put work, and it sold, I think, in just a few weeks. So glad to see that piece move. Now, the next item up is a Woolrich pair of hunting pants. These were not technically vintage, or at least I don't believe they were. These here are Malone men's hunting pants. They're green wool with a brown pinstripe, and they also have the little anchors for suspenders, which is kind of cool. These bad boys here I also sourced in the summer. I gave $5 for these. I did have to take a lint roller to them, and that took like 20 minutes. They were covered in dog hair, and I got most of that off. And I turned these bad boys into $68. These sold in 24 hours. Kind of wish I would have priced them maybe $5, $10 more, but these were not technically vintage, or at least the tag did not show that they were. And all the ones I priced these against were vintage. So I did price them down a little bit compared to the vintage ones, and they sold very quickly. With these bad boys, I think these are used more back east. I put duck hunting, goose hunting, deer hunting, warm, snow, wool, moisture wicking, wool rich, and that just helped me get that sale. So those bad boys sold for $68. I did charge $11 shipping, and again, I didn't pay much at all for those. So winding it down, my friends, just got a few more pieces to share with you. Some Wrangler jeans, paid $3.50 for these. These are pretty basic, not a whole lot going on with them. They don't have the real thick, heavy stitch, but they were in a good size. They had a longer length and a smaller waist to them. And again, that also helps sell women's jeans. With these bad boys here, they sold for $18. I charged $8.95 shipping. I used all of those Western wear, rodeo, cowgirl keywords, the ones like farm, horseback riding, chore, and I also put church on a lot of my Western wear. And so down to just the last few pieces. Got another Carhartt piece for you. Now this is a Carhartt shacket. It was a very large size. This Carhartt shacket sold for $39, and I charged $10.95 shipping because it is a very big size. It's 2XL. And again, like I said with Filson, it just seems that Carhartt pieces are really, really big. An XL almost seems like a 2XL. A 2XL Carhartt piece almost seems like a 3XL piece from any other brand out there. So it's not a bad idea to start measuring. Measure the pit to pit on a lot of your garments. I have gotten better about that. There are particular buyers out there that want to know the sleeve length. They want to know the garment length. They want to know the pit measure. And if you're going to do any one measure, I would suggest the pit to pit measure. That's the measure that gives the chest measure, and that's the one that most people request. But with bigger, more expensive jackets, shackets, flannels, dress shirts, I've just gotten better about putting my measures in there. This is a duck canvas piece. It's also flannel lined, so I made sure and put that in the description. Again, I put construction, oil filled, plumber, I put heavy equipment operator, pipeline, durable, heavy, warm, winter wear, work wear, you name it, so on and so forth. And that piece, I did pay $12 at a flea market for it, but I did get two of them, and that helped to drive the price down. So another Carhartt piece here, Carhartt dark wash, flame resistant denim pants. Again, dark wash pants just do better for me. I used all those oil filled specific and work utility specific words. Again, the electrician, construction, all of those will work well too. I've recently been putting North Slope and offshore just to target those good old boys that may commute up to Alaska and work on the pipeline up there or on the slope, and then all those good old boys that work down in the Gulf or offshore on those oil platforms. Those guys are looking for flame resistant clothing. And again, I can find flame resistant clothing very easily in my area. I typically skip on a lot of Carhartt pants, but if they're Carhartt FR, I will usually scoop them up for the right price. So again, these sold for $18 plus $10 shipping, and I bought two pair of these for $2.50 each as part of a $5 fill a bag. So got two pair for $5. Still haven't sold the other pair yet. I'll be happy when they move. And Carhartt pants don't sell super, super fast for me, but they do make me some decent money. Winding it down, picked up these Nike Special Field Service combat boots this past summer. I did pay $10 for these at a garage sale. I think they wanted 15, and I was able to barter them down by bundling some other items. And so I did clean these. They had some spots. They didn't get immaculately clean. One of the soles had some discoloration compared to the other. I just noted that. And so these were not in as good a condition as some of the other pre-owned boots. And I did price them a little bit down from what some of the other ones were selling for. Many of the other ones were selling right around $80 to $90. I priced these at $78. I got an offer for $75 plus the shipping. I went ahead and took it. It was a no-brainer. So I got my $10 back. Again, I had to put them aside for a little while and chose to sell these a little bit later in the year when it started to get colder. I'm almost certain that these are going to a military man because they're going to somewhere in North Carolina. And so be on the lookout for digital camo pieces, for military pieces, military boots. They sell. There's guys out there in the military that don't want to pay full price, and those guys deserve a deal. So I just love the guys that are in uniform. My own son is in the United States military. My older brother is in the United States Navy. And without them, I wouldn't be able to live this dream I'm living right now, selling you stuff and sharing with you what it is I sell. So big shout out to the guys who serve. Their lives are not always easy and they sacrifice a lot of time away from loved ones to serve. So I'm grateful for that. So I'll get off my soapbox. Just got one more item to share with you. Now, this is a cool piece. Want to shout out my favorite thrift store yesterday and tomorrow's yesterday and today's thrift store in Spencerville, New Mexico. I have a whole host of friends down there that are always looking out for me, a bunch of people that are just about my cause. And so those are the people you want in your reselling endeavor. Those are the people you want to make connections with. And so this here is a Northwest short line train track cutter, and what it does is it cuts the train track pieces out so you can customize your own train track lengths and shapes, I guess you could call it. When I looked this up, there was only one that had sold like it in brand new condition, and it had sold for $58. I listed this at $62. It's been listed for a couple months. I had a lot of people looking at it, but when I finally dropped the price just like 5%, I had somebody make me another offer right after I dropped the price, and this bad boy sold for $55. I charged $11.95 shipping because it's kind of long and kind of awkward, but it's not real heavy, so I probably went a little overkill on the shipping. But this bad boy I only gave $5 for. It's just one of those weird items that sparked my curiosity, and it was new in package. So if you find something new that's odd, that's in package, look it up. And I also like to buy a lot of new clothing if it's new with tag on, even if the brand isn't super strong. Sometimes people just want a really great deal on something new, and this is one of those items. So that is it, my friends. As you can see, a whole lot of different stuff. I love sharing these videos with you. It's fun. It gives me a little bit more opportunity to share what I like to use as part of words in the title and the description. And I know just how helpful that was for me when I was getting started. But even 2.5 years into reselling, I still like to watch what sold videos from some of my favorite content creators on YouTube. And that is part of that market research that always keeps me growing. It helps my business, and it helps me to recognize those odds and ends brands that maybe some of the pricers at these thrift stores are not aware of, and then you get a great deal and you can turn around and sell it for an incredible profit. So that's all I got for you, my friends. As always, if you like watching videos about me going out and buying new and used, undervalued and underappreciated goods, clothing, and shoes, please subscribe. We'd love to have you follow along. And if you like this video, please reach out there, hit that like button for me. And if you would, well, watch another video of mine. It'll be right there. I'm out.